How's it going, boys? My name is Poet, and Battlefield 6 is now just a month away. We've seen the devs kind of teasing us with what they're bringing to the main game, as well as multiple clips from the most recent Labs playtest actually being leaked yet again, who would have thought. Things like the ladders use, the big and smaller maps, and even some footage of the Battle Royale map, which, kind of got a mixed reaction from the community. However, this isn't the thing I want to talk about in today's video. What I want to talk about is what went down a few weeks ago when they announced that they were turning down the movement speed from the beta to make things a bit slower. I want to hop into this discussion now that it's kind of died down and talk about the pros and cons of a situation like this, so hopefully you'll hear me out. So they're turning down how fast you can move in this game, and I'd say the reaction is about split right down the middle. If not, then more in favor of it being a good thing that it was toned down. I saw a lot of YouTubers complaining about it on Twitter or X or whatever the godforsaken site's name is now. But I also saw a lot of just regular people saying that this is a nice thing. And while people on Twitter are so fast to get at each other's throats and start doxing each other, I think it's important to understand both sides of the argument, starting with no movement change side. We live in a day and age where movement in games is a very important aspect of the game itself, especially in shooters. Games like Apex Legends, COD, and hell, even Fortnite have some kind of mechanic where quick movements can net you a win. Having the ability to kind of work fast in a gunfight can net you a win in a game. I saw people arguing on Twitter that moving fast in a game isn't really a skill, and I think that's only partially true. If you can get your character to move fast, but can't pull off good shots while doing so, you're really not showing off any skill. But people who can use their speed, accuracy, and environment to win fights, that kind of shows game knowledge, map knowledge, and gun knowledge. I'd argue that there is some skill in that. So I understand that side of things. Taking away the speed and therefore neutering some skills is kind of a bummer. However, I think it's important we take a look at the bigger picture and the other side of things. Getting rid of the crazy movement, or really just making it slower, is more of what the devs are aiming to do with this game. From the jump, they have pushed the idea that they want to create a game that is more like Bad Company 2 or Battlefield 3 or 4. These games were very slow in comparison to today's modern shooters. If you look back at some of the footage of Battlefield 4, which is probably one of their better ones, it's a slower game. You move a lot slower. They did a lot of innovation in movement in that game, but it wasn't nearly as crazy as things like Call of Duty or Apex, where you're sliding around, you can go from a slide to a jump and then back down. That really just didn't exist back then. But this no sliding, the clunky movements, and longer reload times kind of made these games what they were back in the day. People want this experience back. They want the Battlefield experience. They want to feel like their character is carrying the gear that they are and not able to slide around going Mach Jesus firing from the hip. They want to get knocked down by debris when the building that they're standing beside gets blown way to a million pieces. People are also getting tired of the slide jump shot meta that plagues a lot of the modern shooters like I was talking about. They tried the super fast pace in Battlefield 2042, and while that game has made literal jumps in quality in its lifespan, it really hasn't paid off for them. They have the free pass in the game now, and I've seen lobbies to farm out the pass being held, so people really don't have to sit down and play the game to unlock the things in the pass. I mean, really, that is a whole new level of commitment to not playing that game. I have never seen something like that before. If that doesn't show that the community doesn't like that in a Battlefield game, then I really don't know what does. And skill does still exist in slower movement games. I think it's unfair to say that just because a game moves slower, it makes it like there's less skill in it, or that it encourages camping or like sitting in one spot and kind of like waiting. Look at games like Arma and Tarkov, where fast movement is still there, or to some extent is still there, but slower movements can also net you huge wins. Thinking through your gunfight, moving against the enemy, the flanking patterns of the way people play. There is some skill to that, to kind of outsmart your opponent in a gunfight where, you've got one life and every step matters. However much noise you make matters. Where you are, where you shot from, all of those things play a very, very important role in the gunfights that you fight in those games. And figuring out how all that stuff goes into how the person you're fighting is playing, I think that in itself is also a very, very hard skill to learn, but once you've learned it, you can carry it to like any other shooter game. The risks are higher, and I think Battlefield can do a good job at capturing that, especially with their Battle Royale mode. I don't know how that's going to go. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't even know if I'm going to play it. But that being said, I think that the movement being turned down for this game is going to be a good thing. Overall, I also think it's important that the Battlefield devs have kind of recognized that this game has to be built with and for the community. They're in a tough spot. They have a lot of good grace to restore with the community after 2042 and its dumpster fire of a launch. Listening to the feedback from the beta is a great place to start. Changing things that the community asks for within reason is also just a phenomenal thing to do. In my opinion, I really didn't mind the movement in the beta. It wasn't great, it wasn't bad. I'm game to see what the new movement is like. If it's more like Bad Company 2 or Battlefield 4, I don't know, and I don't really mind. If they revert it back, again, I don't care. I was playing just fine. All this gameplay I've been playing in the background is me during the beta, and I never felt like I was, moving too fast or too slow. I think if they turn it down a little bit, it would be perfect, honestly. Whatever gets the damn game out, I just want to play the game, alright? But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I figured we'd just cover this now that the smoke is settled and have a reasonable, not hateful, not doxing discussion about the movement changes. That's all for now, boys. If you liked the video, do all of the YouTube stuff, and I'll see you all next time.